I'm Alison Lomax and I'm Head of Brand Solutions at Google. So I've been at Google for just over 4 years actually, and my background before joining Google was in advertising agencies. So I worked for media and creative agencies. And I am married, I've got 2 children. I live in Berkhamsted in Hertfordshire. A number of people don't know where Berkhamsted is. It's sort of near Watford, between Watford and Milton Keynes. So I had my first daughter 10 years ago when I was working for an advertising agency. And my second daughter is 6. And since I've had my children, I've worked very different, flexible hours. So in fact, I've worked 4 days, 3 days, 90%, lots and lots of different combinations where I've flexed up and down. And actually, I even went up to 100% for a 6-month period where I took on a new job with it, which was a bigger promotion, and then came back down again to 90%. So my view of parenting is that if you do want to work flexibly, just really think about what hours you want for when, and it's really important to flex it up and down dependent on what your requirements are at that time, because it can really change. So when I returned to work after my first daughter, I worked 3 days a week. I decided that I only wanted to work 3 days a week. And I found a new job, actually, which was incredibly easy, much easier than I thought it would be, through my existing network. And after 6 months of doing that, I decided that I was ready to actually increase my scope, and I went up to 4 days a week. And certainly what I found in my career, at every stage that I've wanted to work different hours and do different days, I've never ever had a problem with it at all. I've just been very clear about what my asks are and why it could work for the business as well as for me personally. I think that's really important. If you work flexibly, it's got to work for the business as well as you, and you've got to be very honest about that. And actually, in every job that I've started, a couple of new jobs since then, and on both occasions I was very clear from the outset that I worked 4-day weeks, and I had no challenges with that at all. So as I mentioned, a year ago I took on a new promotion, and without a team in place I recognised that I needed to step it up a gear, and went up to 100% for 6 months, and then dropped down to 90%. So I now do quite an unusual mix of not working on a Wednesday afternoon, and the reason I do that is because for me it's very important that I'm at the school gates once a week, so I can collect my kids from school once a week and I can have a chat to the teachers and the other mums, and by not working on a Wednesday afternoon allows me to have that, so I'm still involved in their school week as well as working, and it's incredibly individual. Everyone's requirements are totally different. For a number of working mums and parents, working full-time works best for them, and others, work other combinations. So, it's very, very individual. But for me, this works well because it means that I'm at school once a week, so I don't miss out on that. So my belief is that it's really important you think about what your requirements are and what you want. And you can always find something that is right for that stage, whatever it is. And in my first role post-maternity, my boss at the time, she was fantastic. She said, "You're working 3 days a week. I'm getting a relatively senior person who is 3 days a week, who is totally committed to what they're doing and really grateful that it's working with what their parenting and family responsibilities are. And it's brilliant for business." So it was a win-win situation for both of us. And it's also really important that you're never apologetic if you are working different hours and maybe not even full time. So I remember some great advice I had from an old client of mine. In my out of office, when I didn't used to work on a full day on a Wednesday, my out of office said, "I'm so sorry that I can't be contacted today because I don't work on a Wednesday. If it's urgent, please contact me on my mobile number." I mean, it was the most ridiculous out of office ever. And she pulled me up on it. She said, "You're not paid to work on a Wednesday. Don't be apologetic about it. Your out of office should say, 'I don't work on Wednesdays. I'll return your email on Thursday.'" As simple as that. And that's advice that I give to all women when they're coming back from maternity leave. Don't be apologetic about it. You're not paid to work on that day, and it's important that if you're not working, that you're spending that time with your family and you're not checking your emails. So one of the conversations that a number of my friends and colleagues have is about whether we feel guilty about being working mums. And in my experience, I don't, because I feel like I work hard, but I'm very involved in my daughter's lives. As a family, we have really high quality time together at the weekends. The weekends are all about the kids, and we do loads together. And also for all school activities, whether it's carol concerts or swimming galas or school assemblies, I'm there at all of them. I think I've maybe missed one in the course of the last 9 years. And so you can still be very involved. It's not one or the other. And it's really important for you to prioritise what is important for you, to make sure you are there for all those moments, because you're not going to be able to get that time back again. So in my opinion, the challenges for men are becoming a lot more complicated and complex, and it's really important for companies to be aware of that. And something that we are really promoting at Google is paternity leave, and trying to encourage men to take paternity leave. So there's someone in my team who has just gone off on a 3-month paternity leave. He shared it with his wife. She went back to work after 8 months, and he's doing the last 3 months, which is fantastic for him because he gets time to spend with his son in his first year. And it's fantastic for his wife as well, because it means that her initial transition back to work is much easier because her husband is looking after their son. And there's a lot of data that shows it's that first year where women go back from maternity leave that's really critical. If that first year doesn't work out, they're much more likely to drop out of the workplace. So that's a really interesting area, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more men taking paternity leave. So my 2 daughters, they're actually incredibly different. My eldest is quite a tomboy, and her favourite T-shirt says, "Why be a princess when you can be a president?" Whereas my youngest daughter is quite girly, and she likes pink and she likes sparkly tiaras. And my husband and I just couldn't believe that with the same upbringing, they could be so completely different. But what we're trying to do is set the right parameters and set the right tone for how they should be. And we really want them to grow up as being very strong, independent women. But it's amazing how you yourself can slip into unconscious bias about girls and how girls should be. And I tell my youngest daughter a story every night, and I realised that actually most of my stories were about her being a princess and her being rescued by a prince, which went completely against everything that I believe in. And so I changed my tack, and I started talking about how she was an explorer and she was going into the jungle and she came across a big snake. And she turned to me and she said, "But Mummy, I'm really scared of snakes. Can you get back to the princess story?" So I guess it's striking a balance, but we as parents need to be very aware of how we are communicating and what we are, the aspirations that we're signalling to our children. It's also very interesting how much my children pick up from what I'm saying. And there was a very funny incident where Freya, my youngest daughter, had a friend round for a play date. And my eldest daughter, Livy, said to Freya, "You've demonstrated wonderful leadership skills, but I really do think that Millie should be able to play with that too." And I realised that she was so conscious of not saying bossy because she knew that you shouldn't really call girls bossy. They were demonstrating great leadership skills, which was wonderful, but I did wonder how that was going to be relayed back in the school playground.